Hi class, this is Professor Barry Brennan. Today we're going to talk about informative speaking. For some of you, this is going to feel a little redundant because we've kind of discussed it superficially, what informative speaking is so far, but we're going to talk more about it in a little more depth as we move on to your next speech assignments. Let's move into the PowerPoint. Here we are, informative speaking. So, what is informative speaking and how is it different than other speaking? So, just a reminder of in public speaking, there's three different reasons, and sometimes they overlap, but there's three reasons why we give a speech. You could give a speech to inform, to persuade, or to entertain. That's basically the three reasons to give a public speech. And oftentimes entertaining, we're not going to spend any time in this semester speaking about speeches to entertain or special occasion speaking. However, that kind of speech often involves both informative and persuasive types of speaking. Okay, informative speaking, what's the purpose? Obviously to inform. The purpose is also to bring awareness to a topic or an issue, perhaps something that people haven't really thought about before or people haven't known about before. So you might be introducing us to a whole new topic that we'd never considered before, or it could be actually something that we know about, but you're giving us new information about it that we didn't know. In fact, if you are talking about something, let's say you're giving a speech about COVID-19 as your social issue topic. A lot of us know all about COVID-19. Of course, there's an ongoing information, a rediscovering of new information is coming up on a somewhat regular basis, right? So, but here's the thing is you'll have to give in your speech, the burden on you will to provide information that we don't know or to give us a new understanding or perspective of that speech. So your whole purpose is to help us understand an issue more thoroughly than perhaps we'd understood it before. Okay? Could also be to increase sensitivity to an issue, right? So maybe it's an issue that people know about, but how are you going to make them feel like it's a more important issue than they've given it? So all of us know about homelessness. How will you share information about homelessness and help us understand it in a way that we hadn't understood it before, or for us to be more sensitive about that issue? Okay, what is it not? You're not trying to persuade us. You're not trying to get us. Informative speaking is not about persuading us. You're not trying to get us to do anything, except to increase our awareness and understanding, and perhaps our sensitivity about that topic. You're not choosing sides. Not like in persuasive speaking, usually taking a side or taking a stance or a position on an issue. This isn't about taking a position. You are just merely giving us that information in a hopefully creative and interesting way. So you're not trying to get the audience to do anything, to change their minds about anything, or to change any kinds of policies. Okay, so it is not any of those. You're not trying to persuade us in any way to do anything. Your focus is to raise our sensitivity and awareness about something and hopefully give us information that we hadn't had before. What I like to think of this is public informative speaking is really about being neutral, using neutral language, meaning so it's not sounding like you don't use the word should, what we need to do. It doesn't have that kind of imperative kind of language. It just is, this is what's happening. This is a good thing to know about. This is how it might impact you. That's informative speaking. You're just giving us information, allowing us the choice to do with that information as we think we need to do, but not telling us how to do it. Okay, types of informative speeches. Let's talk about that. There are 5. So I'm using actually your textbook here to give you an idea of the way you can think about informative speeches. Briefings or reports are types of informative speaking. Lectures is a type of informative speaking. A demonstration what I also call a how-to speech, how to do something, which is sequential, where you like walk through a process. You're showing us a process of how to do something. A demonstration is informative speech. Training presentation, your trainer is showing us how to do something. Demonstration is like literally you're not training us, but you're showing us how to, like, a demonstration speech would be the Food Network shows, you know, how they demonstrate how to put something together. That's not training us necessarily. Training presentation would often involve having people, you do something and you have them do it as well while you're doing it. A student speech, also type of informative speech. All different ways we can think about informative speaking. And let's kind of break them down. So briefing and reports, they're going to give us the most recent data. They belong both to the public and private sector. And they're generally 10 to 15 minutes. And they usually incorporate some kind of visual aid with it. Lectures, they're instructional in nature, so their purpose is to help someone learn something. They're not limited to teachings or professionals. You can have, if you are giving a lecture, you could be someone in law enforcement, you could be someone, maybe you're giving a lecture, you're trying to instruct nurses on how to do something. So it's not limited to just academics. Okay. Demonstrations. So that's basically, as I said, it's a how-to, it's just shorter than a lecture. A training is teaching a concept or instructs an audience how to accomplish a task. They usually have a target audience, could be industrial or organizational. So similar to a lecture, but not the same thing. It's basically training them how to do something specific. And this is what you're doing. So you're going to get guidelines of how to follow this speech assignment. And then your purpose through research-based information is to provide awareness, to give us that information, to show us new information about something, to back up what you're saying with research. I'm not expecting you to be an expert on any area, but you have to back up what you're saying. When we talk about, I'm going to give a lecture about supporting materials, and you'll have a better understanding of what I mean by that, and also when I talk about research. But you must research for your informative speech. When I say concise and unbiased manner, it means in research, and I'll talk more about this in research, but in research, you want to consult as many sources as possible and consider if your sources are biased. Where are you getting that information from? Oftentimes in today's world that we live in, we're very aware of that journals or newspapers have a point of view. The best way that you can get an unbiased is actually academic journals are the most unbiased, I think, in terms of presenting information. Student speeches are generally 4 to 8 minutes in length, 8 minutes being on the long side, 4 minutes on the short side. You're generally expected to give presentation aids. You've already had this experience in your previous speech where you needed to have an artifact as your symbol. And in student speeches, you're required to have a preparation and a delivery outline. Okay. What do you talk about? You know, in public speaking or in informative speaking, what subject matter do you talk about? What are the options for you? So you can talk about an object. You've already talked about that as your personal symbol. Probably most of you had some kind of object. You can talk about phenomena. Phenomena is like an occurrence of something. A phenomena could be like the Northern Lights. It could be like in August, there's been, I don't know what's going to happen this year, but usually there's a a comet's going by or an asteroid's going by, there's creating, like, you can go up to the mountains and see shooting stars, like a whole bunch of them. That's a phenomena, something, an occurrence, it's something that happens. That's usually unusual. People, your subject matter could be a person. You could give a speech about an event. You could give a speech about a process. So a process is like a how to do something, right? So this is a great video. I'm not going to show this now, but if you have a chance, I urge you to watch this How to Dance at Charleston. It's really done well in terms of how the student incorporated another class member as part of this demonstration and How to Dance at Charleston. And he has a lot of confidence, and he actually delivers that speech very well. Okay, you could do it about concepts. Concepts are ideas. And finally, you can do it about an issue. And so those little asterisks are there is because in your next speech, you will be picking a social issue in which to deliver your informative speech on, in which to inform the audience about a social issue that will be important to you. Strategies for communicating that information. Keep it simple, right? Keep it simple. Don't go into much. Simple means use simple language, avoid jargon. Try to make sense for us. The best public speakers is making sense for us and making it simple, making it manageable. Make it concrete. Concrete versus abstract. Abstract are like concepts and ideas. Make it concrete. Bring it down to words that we can understand. We know what the word black is, right? And we have lots of associations of what black means. We know what the word red means, right? Red is a color. We have associations with the color red. We all know what a turtle is, right? Use concrete. If you're talking about he was as slow as a turtle, that's like a metaphor, right? But use concrete words. If you're going to talk about love, love is abstract. But if you need to talk about love, you need to make it concrete for us. So give examples of what love is, right? Is love a heart on fire? Is love a romantic song? Are love represented by roses? Examples of how to make that abstract idea into a concrete example. Be repetitive and redundant. Tell us over and over. That's what you learned in organizing your speech in those signposts, right? Remember to tell us that you're moving from one idea to the next, and you remind us again at the end. And in the beginning, you tell us what you're going to talk about. Having that redundancy, and if you watch in good speeches, and the speeches that I've shown you thus far, they've had redundancy. They've repeated phrases. That's a powerful tool. You don't have to be doing a persuasive speech to use that tool. That tool is very powerful, very helpful. It helps drive home your idea and your main, what your main feeling is, or what your motive for giving that speech is. It helps us understand and really get what that speech is about when you do that kind of repetition. Your job is to elicit some responses from us, make us feel something, make us sigh, or make us, like want to clap when we hear something positive. We might not clap, but make us feel something. Your job in informative speaking is to elicit some kind of responses. Now, again, you're not trying to change us, but you need to get the audience emotionally involved. Use familiar, I'm going to stop right after this. Use familiar and relevant examples. Don't use examples that we don't know. You need to think about what's that culturally makes sense for us, that we are connected culturally with. Use examples that we understand, and that are related to your generation, right? Or related to this culture. That's what you want to use, things that are familiar and relevant, and also relevant to what you're talking about. Okay, we're going to stop right there, and I'm going to come back to this part.